Good day, grade 12s. My name is Carden Madzokere, and I would like to welcome you to multiple choice paper 1 exam prep. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through past papers from 2017 Feb March to 2019 November. Okay, right. First thing I can say is the first thing you need for you to excel in multiple choice is to be very, very good with terminology. So you need to learn those terms as much as possible. Then the other thing that I want to point out is the department has made it easy for you. Okay, we have 8 questions under multiple choice, and each question is 2 marks. So this section gives you 16 marks. So you want to maximize, you want to get as much as possible. Okay, what the department has done is since 2017 November to date, you need to know this one, very important information right here. They have come up with this thing of there'll always be 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, okay, let's say a C, and 2 D's. Okay, I leave 4 and 7 just for an example that I want to make. Okay, let's say you, out of the 8 questions, you only know answers for these 6. So now what's left is 4 and 7, and you're not so sure what number the answer to 4 is and what the answer to number 7 is. But what you can tell is it's for any one of the 2, if you are certain that these 6 you got them right. So for any one of these 2, the answer is not an A because we already have 2 A's. The answer is not a B, we already have 2 B's. So what's missing here is a C and a D. So what you'd want to do is read number 4 again, see what makes sense, C or D. You might find out that C makes sense. So if C makes sense, then number 7 is D. What if it still doesn't make sense? You still don't know the answer. Try to read number 7. And obviously number 7, one of them is C, it's either C or D, definitely, if those 6 that you have answered are correct. So what you can do there now is you can read again and see. Let's say it still makes no sense. My recommendation is rather make both of them C's. Then you know one is wrong, the other one is correct. So in this case, you can get 14 out of 16. Because if you try to make this one, okay, look, the answer is C. Ne? Let's say you try to say, okay, let me make this one a D, and this one is C, and this one is D. Actually, C is already wrong, and D is wrong again. So you risk getting 12, for instance. So that's a strategy I would recommend. So if you didn't know, from now you know, and I'm going to prove to you that yes, it's been like that since November 2017. Okay, let's get down to business. I don't know, I forgot, did I introduce myself? I'm Carden Madzokere. I'm the author of the Distinction Bound Student textbooks. I have economics grade 10, 11, and 12, and then there's business studies grade 11 and 12. Okay, so you can get my books by calling me. I have my phone number in my 07388408777, or you can comment on the link below, and then you can make a purchase if you want to buy the textbook. All right, let's get started. So we're starting with May, June 2017, and by then I don't think they had started to use the 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, and 2 D's. All right, let's get to the questions. Now, you can see here the options are not there. They are not shown. That's a recommendation that I have for you. I recommend that you read the question, try to answer the question before you look at the options. Okay, I know the options will be there for you, and you might be tempted to go through the options to see which one is correct, which one is correct. But normally, if you read the question and answer in your head, when you go to the options, you might see that the answer you have in your head is there as one of the options. So in most cases, that will be correct. Okay, let's get started. The circular flow model, which is what? A model that shows how participants in an economy interact. The circular flow model of an open economy. Already we are getting some clues. This open economy is mostly said for a reason. When we say open economy, we are referring to an economy that trades, or a country that trades with other countries. So before we even finish this, already I see a clue as to where this is going. Shows the functioning of an economy that includes which sector. So if it's open, it's trading with other countries. So in your answers, you are looking for something like foreign. Okay, let's see our options. Right, we have public, business, foreign, domestic. Already the answer is obvious because of that open economy. So in this case, the answer will be the foreign sector. Okay, like I said, it's a country that trades with other countries. So it includes the foreign sector. In other words, it includes other countries. A closed economy will not include it. And so in most cases, we call it a three-sector model. It's going to include households, businesses, government, these three. And now that which includes the foreign sector is a four-sector model, and it's the most common one. Yes, and it's the one we do in grade 12 anyway. But when we are in grade 9, we teach you a two-sector model where we normally just talk about businesses and government. Households and businesses. Then slowly, grade 10, I think, yes, we introduce the government. And so we give you a three-sector model. In other words, we'll be giving you there a closed economy. So right now we're talking about an open economy. Let's go to the next question. A diagram that shows expansion and contraction periods of economic activities is called A or N. Okay, expansions, that means the economy is going up. Contractions, that means the economy is going down. Okay, and then we have other expansions and contractions. Expansion, I'm giving you a clue already. That thing will have a trend line and so on and so on. This being the trough, the peak, this being the trough, like that. So obviously this answer is clear. It's our topic number 2 in our syllabus. All right, so it's not an economic cycle, it's not a productivity cycle, it's not inflationary cycle. The answer is obvious, business cycles. So like I mentioned earlier, there are those questions that are very obvious. So get them right like that. And then once you get them right, the ones you don't know, skip them in the meantime. And then you can always come back and do them. You'll see that you get them right. All right, the next one, the removal of unnecessary restrictions. Okay, these restrictions are normally, imposed by the government. So when we remove that, what are we doing? Restrictions by legislation is known as, okay, I want you to give an answer in your head. I'm tempted not to show you the options for quite a while, for you to think, okay, look, the removal of unnecessary restrictions. So we remove restrictions. What is government doing there? Okay, do you think government is regulating? Do you think government is deregulating? Do you think it's centralizing, or you think it's decentralizing? All right, so you're probably wondering what is centralizing, what is decentralizing. Okay, let me talk about those two, because these two actually in this case are the wrong ones. Okay, so our answer is either A or B, but we are saying removal here, so A doesn't make sense. I think you can clearly see the answer is D. So the answer here will be deregulation. There we go. Right, the term used to compare a country's export prices with its import prices. In other words, we are saying what? The ratio of import prices to export prices. Come on, this should ring a bell. It starts with, okay, of course, this has nothing to do with it, but it has something like this. Okay, let's see our options. Do you think it's the balance of payment? It cannot be, because this is a systematic record of a country's transactions with the rest of the world. Could it be balance of trade? No. Could it be exchange rates? No. Okay, already you see where I'm going with this. The answer is terms of trade. So the terms of trade is our answer in this case. Just like I said earlier, you need to know your terms for you to do extremely well in what do you call this, multiple choice, right? An example of a social indicator is, okay, in my textbook I have this term Daihan. All right, for you to remember, what do you call them? Social indicators, ne? So D stands for demographic. I stands for, I'm forgetting now, what is I? I'll come back to you, I, just now. And then E stands for, come on, what does E stand for? It stands for education, okay. And then H stands for, what is H? Housing, yes, I'm forgetting. And then U stands for urbanization, and then N stands for nutrition, okay. What does I stand for, by the way? I, income distribution, yes, income distribution, okay. So where we have the Gini coefficient, yes, income distribution. All right, so what amongst these things that I've mentioned, what do we have? All right, let's have a look at business confidence. Do you think this is an indicator? No. Employment is surely an indicator, but this one falls under people pay money for every purchase. Okay, so I also have this statement here. It's for economic indicators. So this one is for social and this is for economic. So for P, I say it's production. Okay, so under production we have real GDP, we have nominal GDP, we have per capita GDP, and then people pay, P is price change indicators, and under price change we have PPI. PPI is what? Producer price index, and then we have CPI, consumer price index, and then we have M for monetary change indicators. Here we have money supply, and we have the repo rate, we have the prime lending rate. Then people pay money for, F is foreign trade indicator, right? Under foreign trade we have exchange rates, and we have terms of trade, the one that we talked about in the previous question. And then people pay money for every, this E stands for, what is it? Employment, yes, employment. And unemployment we have, come on, what's this? We have unemployment rate, we have the employment rate, and we have the EAP, economically active population. So these are our indicators. Then the last one is productivity. Under productivity we have labor productivity. All right, so E here, yeah, of course these can confuse you, because you could put education, you could put it under economic, but that won't make sense. Okay, so education here screams more than employment. So employment is an economic indicator, and then production is this last one here. So production is again an economic indicator. This we don't know what it is, so our answer is A, because education is our social indicator. Okay, next question. An increase in the real value of production in a country is known as, right? If in other words, here we are saying an increase in production, right? Real production. So this is real GDP. Okay, so when real GDP goes up, come on, we say the economy. Do you think we say it's developing, or you think we say the economy is growing? These are the only two options. If development is there, okay, it could trick you, but remember, development has to do with things, and growth has no. Development has to do with people, and then growth has to do with things. By that I mean development is an improvement in people's standards of living, and then growth is the ability of a country to produce more. So I think I've given you the answer. All right, so development is there. If you say development, you are at least not too far. Integration, no. Economic integration, that won't make it, because this is the unification of economic policies between different states. You see, and normally they do it by removing, tariffs and whatever it is that could help the unification. All right, then we have prosperity, economic prosperity. Okay, could be tricky because the economy is prospering, but come on, the answer is economic growth. Right, the next one is, which strategy failed in its objective to have poverty and unemployment by 2014? So here you need to know those policies. Okay, fine, let me give them out. Right, the first one is in the new growth path. Let's look at that one. This one was introduced in 2011 to accelerate growth and employment. Do you think it is the one? Maybe not. The next one is RDP, and this one was implemented or introduced in 1994 to address the problem or problems such as poverty, inequality, and so on. So it was trying to address the gaps that were there in the past. So it's a redress policy. The next one is Accelerated and Shared Growth Initiative for South Africa. This sounds like the one. And then the last one is the National Development Plan. And so if we look at these, okay, the National Development Plan is actually the one that is, it aims at alleviating or eliminating poverty and reducing inequality by 2030. So this one is out because of that 2030 part. And this one is out, this one is out. So we are left with only one option here, which is Asgisa. Right, the next one, a purpose-built industrial estate, physically enclosed and linked to an international harbor or airport is known as a or an. All right, here you need to know industrial development policies. This comes from that topic. But let's have a look. What is a corridor? Okay, it's a tract of land that forms a passageway, allowing access from a place to another. We have this corridor here, N4, which connects Joburg and Maputo. All right, then we have special economic zones. This one is a geographically demarcated area where specific economic activities for development have been identified. So this one is out again. Okay, so a corridor is out. So for you to get this one right, you need to know what each one is. All right, then we have industrial development zone, which happens to be the correct answer in this case. All right, so our answer will be the industrial development zone. Now, there's nothing much I can say on these because if you just don't know what each is, then it's going to be that guesswork. So, but fortunately for you, if it so happens that you don't know the answer, then I guess you will have to use that that strategy that I was talking about, which says, 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, and 2 D's. So this could be already, I think we have 2 questions that you could be struggling with, like I normally recommend that learners study in depth. What do you call this one? Macroeconomics for paper 1 and microeconomics for paper 2, especially if they are not aiming for a distinction, because if you're aiming for a distinction, then there's no need for you to say I prioritize this one, whatever. You have to study everything. All right, but for those of you who aiming for level 3, 4, and so on, you can be okay with just one module, which is macroeconomics and micro. That's my recommendation. I'm not saying you should take what I recommend. I'm just saying take it or leave it. Okay, so if you are that person, you might not have that that clear understanding of or you might have forgotten these because you will have done them in class. So after all those months and so on, you wouldn't still remember what a corridor is. You wouldn't know what special economic zones are, IDZs and IDPs. So for that, you could reserve these ones for that strategy of, okay, I don't have A's, I don't have B's or whatnot. And if you are lucky, the ones you don't know could be the same letter. Let's say you have B's, C's, and D's, and what you don't have is A's, and you are only left with 2 questions. That will be lucky you. So you see, you can get 16 out of 16 in multiple choice. So that was May, June 2017. Let's move on to November. Right, in November, the first question was, in an economy where injections exceed leakages, I'm sure it will say the economy will, okay, where we have what? Where injections exceed leakages, something like this. So J is greater than, okay, so if what comes in is more than what goes out, what do you think happens to the economy? This is common sense. Do you think production of goods and services will decrease? How would that even happen? Do you think national income will increase? This is the only thing that makes sense. So there's no need for us to read the rest because already we found the answer. Right, and you must have found that answer just by me saying J is greater than L. The rest doesn't make sense. Okay, let's see. National income decreases. How would it do that? Gross value added in production will decline. No. You see, these 3 things are saying the same thing. The only thing that's, okay, that's another strategy that one can use. Everything else is declining. That probably the one that says increase is the answer. Okay, but that's not what I used here. I'm just saying, because look, in an exam, it's all about getting marks. You know, and whoever marks your paper doesn't know if you guessed or you knew the answer. So if you give a correct answer, they'll give you your credit. All right, long-term funds are borrowed or saved on the key word here is long. All right, so we have the money market, we have the capital market. Those are the only 2 that will make sense. Okay, financial market could be given as an option, but it's wrong. They could also give you foreign exchange market. All right, let's have a look. Okay, they gave us capital, money, and so on. So money is wrong because money is like short term. So these are the only 2 options. These 2 are out. Impossible. None of those works. Foreign exchange is the act of changing one currency for another. Goods market is a market where goods and services are traded. So the answer here is capital. All right, the next question. Goods and services that benefit the society are called what goods? All right. They benefit the society. Okay. I think I'm on this one. If in your mind you don't have merit and demerit, then I don't know what you're thinking about. Maybe you think of positive externality, but what are you going to say then? Positive externality goods? No, that doesn't make sense. So in your head, you should have at least demerit and merit, at least, which makes these 2 options harmful, common? No. The answer is either the 2, but now what's the clue here? Goods that will benefit. Okay, so if they say that will cost the society, the answer would have been demerit. So in this case, the answer will be merit. Economic integration, where member countries agree on a common economic policy, is known as, all right, what could be coming to your mind here is, okay, let me just give you the options. All right, free trade areas. Is it true? Maybe not, because these are trade blocks of which member countries have signed a free trade agreement. So you should see this, said there, but it's not being said. It's saying here economic integration where member countries agree on a common economic policy. All right, could it be customs union? Maybe, but not really. This one will be an economic union. All right, the next one, which government policy seeks to eliminate poverty and reduce, remember we did this one, in May, June 2017. Just now we did this one. There was a part when I said it can't be, I think if you remember, the one I defined, talking about the 2030 thing, it was the NDP, if you remember very well. Okay, so it becomes the answer here. So look, just use these past papers, because you see it's more or less like something that I talked about in the previous paper, and now it comes back, but in a different way, because I explained National Development Plan, NDP. And so if you were paying attention, then yeah, now you could see, oh yeah, now it fits here, because we're talking about reducing inequality by 2030. All right, a cash grant paid out to the poor form part. Come on, cash grant paid out to the poor form part of the dash policy. Okay, I wasn't reading it correctly. All right, this is paid out by obviously the finance minister, and so just think, which policy is he responsible for? There should be two policies in your mind right now. I would say you must at least have fiscal policy in your mind. You must also at least have monetary policy in your mind. If you have anything other than that, but then now, since fiscal and monetary are our options right now, these two are out, then we revisit this one. Who's responsible is the SARB, and this one is the finance minister, right? So this cash grant, who is responsible for things like this? I think you can see that will be a fiscal policy. Right, next question. The number of years that a newborn baby is expected to live. Come on, expected. Your answer must have you know what I'm saying? All right, let's see. Expected to live is referred to as, that's easy. Do you think it's the mortality rate? No. This one here is like the rate at which babies die before they reach the age of 1. That's the mortality rate. So in South Africa, it's normally around 33, 35. So about 33 or 35 babies die before they reach the age of 1 out of every 1,000 babies born alive. And then malnutrition, come on, this is the lack of nutrition, which will cause malnutrition, yes, lack of nutrition. Being obese is being overweight. So none of these options make sense at all. The only answer is life expectancy, right? The north-south divide can also be referred to as the dash gap. Okay, what is it? It's development gap. What else can it be? All right, it's the development gap, as you can see, as I've said, and none of these other options make sense. So use my strategy, the one that looks at questions that, like A's, B's, C's, and D's. So omit the ones you don't know, but make sure you answer them. And and one other thing that I didn't mention, it makes no sense to like leave a multiple choice type question unanswered. It makes no sense at all. If there's, okay, I normally ask, okay, let me give you an example. There's question 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me just use these 3. Elena writes A here, they leave this one blank, they write B on this one. Then I'm marking, obviously this is wrong because you didn't write. Then this is wrong again, and this is right. So you get 2 out of 6. Then I call you, hey, why did you not write number 2? And here's the stupid answer, because I didn't know the answer. Then I'll ask you, obviously, so why did you answer number 3? Because if your rule is the ones you don't know, you don't answer, then why did you answer this one? Because you got it wrong, miss. And your rule says the ones you don't know, you don't answer. You thought you knew this one, and it turns out to be wrong. So you also thought you didn't know this one. But what if you would just put a C? There's a chance that it could be correct. So you can get 4 out of 6. Now, 4 out of 6 and 2 out of 6, there are two different things here. And some of you underestimate 2 marks. 2 marks is the difference between 48 and 50. And I hate that 48 and 50. It could probably give you less 50s and then you don't qualify for bachelor's. Then you get a diploma just because you couldn't guess. Imagine, you just take a guess. There are 4 options. And now with this knowledge of there are 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, come on, it even makes it even better. If you guess the whole thing, you get at least 4 out of 16. If you don't know anything, you see, paper 1, you have your guaranteed 4 marks. Paper 2, you have your guaranteed 4 marks. You make everything A, or B, something like that. But I don't think you are that ignorant. Okay, let's move on to the next. Okay, let's have a look. You see here, I took a screenshot. A is 1, 2. B, 1, 2. C, 1, 2. D, 1, 2. See, these are the answers that we went through. Exactly like that. 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's. I told you that I'm going to prove to you. So I took a screenshot. You can go to November. You'll see it's the same thing. Download November 2017. This is what you're going to see. I didn't edit, nothing. All right, let's move on to Feb, March 2018. The first question is, the government is responsible for the dash sector provisioning. Oh, okay. That will be public. Come on. That will be public sector provisioning. Yes. Sorry for giving you the answer, but I'm sure you had the answer in your head as well. It's one of the easiest things you can ever be asked. The total remuneration that the owners of factors of production receive is called national what? The key is the word remuneration here. What is remuneration? Remuneration is income. Okay, so it's known as national what? National income. It can't be national production, because if it was national production, the statement would have been different. We would have said something else. So that would be national income. The exchange rate system used by South Africa is called the, okay, this one you have to know. First and foremost, you must know exchange rate systems to begin with. Okay, so you must know that we have a free floating, we have a managed, we have a fixed. So those are the 3 exchange rate systems. So anything, the 4th option there is does not exist. It's there to confuse you. Let's see. All right, fixed, managed, free floating. That gold standard out. So amongst those 3, which one do you think? Okay, in South Africa, we let forces of demand and supply do the job. So we don't manage the currency, we don't manage the rand, we let forces of demand and supply do the job. And we don't fix the rand to a commodity like gold. So it will be C. It is a free floating exchange rate system. An indication of long-term growth in the country, in the economy, is referred to as, all right, here you could struggle to, come up with options, but for me to give you a clue, I would say, think about a business cycle, think about those other tools that we use for forecasting. One of them is what we are referring to here, an indication of a long-term growth in the economy. Long-term growth. So it's sort of saying this thing shows us the direction or the general direction in which the economy is heading. Okay, what? So in other words, it could show something like this with, our economy is going downward over a long period of time, or it could be something like this. All right, I think I've given you a lot of clue. That cannot be amplitude, nor could it be length, not trough. The answer will be, it's a trend line. I've drawn it for you. There it is. But anyway, I won't be there in the exam, but just try to use the same mentality. Analyze the question, look for keywords, because here I would say my keyword here was long-term growth. Okay, just that could guide you as to what could possibly be the answer. The number of years that a newborn, you see, repetition. We did this one. It's life expectancy. Globalization makes countries more economically. Okay, if countries are globalization, do you think they become independent? Do you think they rely on each other? Come on. Isolated. Really? With globalization, how could we be isolated? We become interdependent. That means we depend on one another. We depend on USA, they depend on us. It's not independent, because if it was, then we wouldn't need them. But we need each other. So because of globalization, we become interdependent. Okay. Right. Households in South Africa spend most of their income on. Try to think about our goods. Try to think about services. We have goods, services, but maybe it could be tricky if we, okay, let me look at the options. All right, durable, semi, and none. There is no way. None of those could win. Maybe, only maybe, if we had goods just like that, services just like that, and maybe other two things to confuse you. Yeah, you could be tricked to think it's goods. But now it becomes obvious, because look, goods are durable, semi-durable, and non-durable. If you look at CPI, you will see that services have a bigger weighting than anything else. Like their weighting is 50 something. So services alone weigh more than goods combined. But if you don't have that information, you still can get this one right, because those goods, they separated them. So the answer becomes obvious in this case. It's services. An indicator generally used to measure the cost of production. The cost of production, okay, is known as, I talked about it when I said people pay money for every purchase. Under P, I said we have price change indicators, and under price we have CPI. This one is the consumer price index. It's a basket. It measures the cost of living, and then the other one is PPI. It measures the cost of production. So what does PP stand for? Because the I is here already. So what is it? Okay, PP, that's what we're looking for. All right, CPI is wrong because it measures the cost of production, of living. And the one I'm referring to here is producer price index, or production price index. Okay, right, this brings us to the end. Let's check once again. We have 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, and 2 D's. Just like that. How easy is this? All right, so let's move on to the next paper. That will be May, June 2018. So we do it until we get to 2019. That's our last one. Okay. The practice of selling goods in a foreign country at a lower price. Okay, this is dumping. What else can it be? Okay, this is dumping. Savings flow back. Okay, you know that savings are a leakage, ne? So disposable income, which is money after government taxes, the money we get in our bank accounts, so that money, once we get it, we normally save, which happens to be a leakage. Now we could save 2,000 a month, 2,000 a month, 2,000 a month. Maybe we are doing it because we have a big goal. We want to get to 50,000. And now when we have that 50,000, how does that 50,000 flow back? It flows back as investment. Look, you see, that's exactly what happens. All right, so this one becomes obvious, investment spending. All right, the new economic paradigm that relates to smoothing of business cycles is rooted in the dash policy. I was even talking about this today in Villiers, where I was. Okay, it's the easiest thing here, demand and supply. Okay, under demand side, okay, let me give the answer already, demand and supply. Under demand, we have fiscal and monetary policy, and then under supply, let me see, we have, come on, what is this? Improving efficiency of markets, improving, decreasing production costs, and also increasing or improving efficiency of inputs. Right, when import duties are imposed as a percentage of the value of imported goods, it is known as dash duties. All right, this one will be ad valorem, because a composite one, that will be a specific tariff and ad valorem. So this composite, it's this. Come on, where's my cursor? Is this plus this. So there will be a specific tariff, let's say per item, and then ad valorem, which is a percentage of the value of, normally it's on luxurious goods. Okay, then that was composite, ne? Then a specific one is an amount, is a specific, listen to that, a specific amount per unit, let's say per blanket. It can also be per mass, let's say per kg. It can also be per size, let's say what size, how could you measure size? Big, small, whatever, okay, or per size, anything like that. So it's a specific amount per kg. So let's say they will then say, okay, put it on a scale. So what you pay is determined by the weight of whatever it is that you are trying to import. And then the last one is average. This one here measures the average level of nominal tariff protection. So in this case, our answer is ad valorem. That's it. Right, the next one, an increase in the productive capacity of an economy over a specific period of time. This one we did it once, it's economic growth. What else can it be? Right, the interaction of economies, we did this again, but they didn't ask it this way. It's the one where the answer was interdependent, if you remember. Right, the interaction of economies with trade as an important element is known as, what were we talking about? That was globalization. Right, the number of employed persons as a percentage of economically active population. All right, the EAP is the people who are willing, able, available, all that stuff to work. So we sometimes call them the labor force. Now, amongst those people, the ones that happen to be employed, what do we call it? Come on, it's an easy one. How can it be economic growth? If you write economic growth, then something is wrong with you. How about productivity rate? No. Labor? No. The answer is employment rates. Again, we're saying the number of people who are employed. Right, economic activity which creates value-added products in all sectors is known as the dash. Okay, in this case, that would be industrial. Okay, the last one, oh, not the last one yet. Okay, we have A, we have two of them, B, two of them, C, and D. I keep repeating this for you, for it to like, make sense to, like, get used to it. That's the way it is. All right, we move on to November 2018. An open economy is described as a dash sector economy. An open economy. I talked about this one. If it's open, then it is households, businesses, government, and the foreign sector. How many things did I count there? 4. Then investment is an example of a or an dash in the circular flow. All right, here you want to think about injections and leakages. So investment, does it sound like leakages? No. Leakages, we have injection plus what else? Plus exports plus G, government spending, is equal to injections, plus investment. So J is equal, this is supposed to be an equal sign, and then here L is equal to imports plus savings plus what else? Taxes. All right, so the answer will be, what does it say? Investment. Where do you see I? You see it here. So the answer will be B, injections. Fiscal policy is an action taken by government to in respect to taxation and dash. T and G. What is G? G is not government. G is government spending. All right. So taxation and expenditure. So the answer will be C, expenditure. Economies of scale are associated with, with producing a lot. So what is producing a lot? It is mass production. Okay, there we have it, mass production. Right, production by citizens. The key word is by citizens. So the minute you see this by citizens, what must come to your mind is national. Because if it's not by citizens, then it's within the borders. So what must come to your mind is domestic. So here the keyword is by citizens, which gives us national. So before you even know what they want to ask, it has to do with national. All right, production by citizens of a country, locally and abroad, is called the national product. Okay, gross national, yes, that would be A, because I was looking, where's national, what's going on? Right, a physically enclosed, okay, this takes us back to what we were doing that time. I think it was 2017. A physically enclosed area next to a harbor or airport. Okay, this sounds like IDZ. Okay, let's see. Yes, there is IDZ, Industrial Development Zone. So you must just try to learn these. Of course, I don't want to spend much time on these because it's economic pursuits. I want you to spend more time on macroeconomics. All right, the next one. The comparison of a country's export prices with import prices by means of indexes, but we normally call them indices, okay, is referred to as the dash. Let's come again. The comparison of a country's export prices. This question came to the ratio of import prices to export prices. In that case, it was saying the term. And then I say the word term is giving us a clue because the answer is terms of trade. Economic development is measured in terms of, okay, this I talked about it earlier. I said development has to do with people, so it has to do with standards of living. So economic development is measured in terms of the per capita gross domestic product. That makes sense. Increase in the productive capacity, it doesn't make sense because this is growth. This is like economic growth. Nominal gross domestic product, it's growth. Money supply, you are lost. The answer is A. Okay. The next one will be May, June 2019. So we are left with May, June, and then we are left with November. That will be it for today's session. All right. On this one, we start with question 1. Labor can be bought and sold in the dash market. That has to be the, okay, think about the circular flow. We have the product market, the other market that we have in that diagram. That will be the factor market. Comparative cost advantage shows that world output can increase if countries dash in what they do best. This is obvious. Specialize. There is the answer C. If countries specialize. So if you have an absolute advantage in making something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the one manufacturing it, because comparatively, when we now talking about the opportunity cost, maybe the opportunity cost for you to produce, let's say, wine is bigger. Like if you spend your resources making wine, the cost, the opportunity costs for producing something else that you also have an absolute advantage in making, let's say laptops. If your opportunity cost is bigger than another country, then it's better that you produce laptops and that other country which has a less opportunity cost in producing wine should specialize in producing wine. Then both these countries will be better off if they trade. So you specialize in producing what you have a comparative advantage in making, not what you have an absolute advantage in making, because comparatively you might not have the advantage. Okay, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, you can go back to the textbook and go through the topic. Comparative and absolute advantage, you will find it under international trade or foreign exchange market. I think it's the first unit before you do balance of payment. Right, the medium-term expenditure framework. Oh, by the way, today is Thursday, the 29th of October, and yesterday was Wednesday, and the Minister of Finance was presenting the medium-term budget policy statement. So, wow, what a day to be doing this one. The medium-term expenditure framework is a dash-year government expenditure and revenue projection. You need to know it's a 3-year rolling budget. This one, that'll be A. The peak of a business cycle is characterized by, okay, let's see the characteristics, but just think, peak is coming right at the top, the tip of what? Prosperity. So things are good in the economy. So you want to, what must come to mind is things like a high inflation rate, a lot of economic activity. Let's see what we have. Okay, I see the word inflation here, but let me see. It's saying stable. That cannot happen. A high unemployment rate, no. The economy is doing extremely well. Low, no, that's wrong. This could happen during the opposite of a peak, which is a trough. So the answer here will be high demand for credit. All right, and inflation would have been correct if they said high rates of inflation, but they couldn't put them together because we will have two answers. So yeah, confusion. Right, an increase in the productive. They keep repeating this question, and I don't know how many times you have heard about this, and if you keep getting it wrong, then you have a big problem. An increase in the productive capacity. Come on, this is growth. This is economic growth. It cannot be development. I said it 1,000 times. Development has to do with standards of living. So the answer is C, economic growth. Cost sharing grant by government to improve roads is called the DASH program. All right, this one will be the CIF. CIF, that stands for Critical Infrastructure Fund Program. Let's see. Okay, yes, it's the B, critical infrastructure. Okay, we call this one CIF. It is fund here. Okay, critical infrastructure fund, but amongst the options is the one that makes sense. Yes. Right, the next one, an example of an economic indicator is an economic. So for economic, I told you before, people pay money for every purchase. But remember, the things we are referring to here are things like, let's say, a real GDP, nominal GDP per capita, CPI, PPI, money supply, interest rates, repo rates, prime rates, full employ. What is this? For all foreign exchange, exchange rate, terms of trade. Then we have E. What is E, by the way? Employment. Okay, unemployment, employment, and EAP, and then labor productivity. Any of those things that are mentioned. Let's see. Sanitation, no. No PPI. There we go. D. Social grants to the citizens of South Africa forms part of the DASH policy. Social grants. It has the Minister of Finance in it. You know, it has him. This is fiscal, boys and girls. It can't be anything else. It can't be monetary. If you say trade or growth, I don't know what you are smoking. You just need to stop, because none of that makes sense at all. Right, then we have our confirmation again. 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's and 2 D's. There we go. Then you fail. I don't think you should. Right, the last part, because I don't have Feb March 2020. Right, a period where there is a general increase in economic activity is known as expansion, is known as an upswing, is known as, could we say, prosperity? Okay, maybe recovery. Any one of those. Let's see. That would be an upswing. Nothing else makes sense there. National income will increase when, okay, here we can't just, but what we can tell, national income will increase when, okay, it increases when J is greater than L. So, but maybe the options don't have this. Maybe they have more, let's say the likes of G, I, X, and all that. Let's see what we have. Okay, yes. So G is government spending, I is investment spending, X is exports. These are injections. Greater, come on, this is the answer. Savings, taxes, and imports. These are leakages. This is the answer. We don't have to look at the rest. There, correct. Indicators that change at the same time. Come on, this is coincident. Because if they change before, they are leading. If they change after, they are lagging. And a summary of all these indicators of the same index were put together. That will be composite. So the answer is coincident. Where one country can produce goods and services cheaper. Oh, I spoke about this. Cheaper than another country, we say it has an absolute advantage. The other one where I was talking about opportunity cost, we say it has a comparative. So here it will be absolute advantage. Terms of trade, that's weed talking, that's not you. Right, the Laffer curve shows the relationship between, all right, we're talking about this thing here. It looks like this. Government gets 0. Government gets 0. Okay, here government maximizes. All right, what do we have on this axis? We have tax revenue. And then what do we have here? We have tax rate. So this will be 100% tax rate. This will be 0. And there is a correlation between 100 and 0, which is the government gets nothing. Okay, so the Laffer curve shows the relationship between, I've written the answers there, tax revenue and tax rate. That will be A. Right, production as an indicator. Let's see. Production as an economic indicator relates to production as an economic indicator. Okay, it's kind of vague. Let's see the options. Oh, okay. Production, that will be real GDP. All right, so in some cases, you probably have to look at the option like, what are they trying to say? All right, it cannot be foreign trade. It cannot be inflationary, because foreign trade is where we have, okay, it's one of those where I say people pay money for. This is the F4. So under this one, we have terms of trade, we have exchange rates. Then inflation, I don't know what this guy is doing. Oh yeah, inflation makes sense on price change. Yes, price change. And that will be CPI. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. But here we are saying production, so it's out. Then money supply, this is people paying money. That's M. It is an indicator, but it's not under production. Under production, we have real GDP, nominal GDP. So they can change this question and put nominal. Nominal will be the answer. They can also change and put per capita. That will be correct again. But now, if you put all these three, then it won't make sense because these three are all correct. So would be correct. This would be correct. Okay. The next one is the Department of Trade and Industry, DTI, initiative that focuses on improving, that is IMS. IMS, I was talking about this yesterday, I think. Yes, this will be the IMS, International Integrated Manufacturing Strategy. Right, then the last one, the demand side policy relates to, let's see, A reduction in cost? Nope, because this is supply side. I mentioned it that time. Improving efficiency of inputs? No, this is supply side. The influence of inflation and unemployment? Yes. This one, the influence of inflation and unemployment, it's that thing there that looks like this. I think you know what I'm talking about. And this, we call it the Phillips curve. We just talked about the Laffer curve. This is a Phillips curve. And then improving the efficiency of inputs. These three are supply. This is supply side, and supply side. The answer is C. The influence of inflation and unemployment. Boys and girls, this has brought us to the end of paper one. Paper one, multiple choice. So we have our 2 A's, we have our 2 B's, we have our 2 C's, and we have our 2 D's. Imagine watching this video after the exam and you didn't do this 2 A's, or you even didn't know about it. Then you are going to say, oh, I wish I knew. All right, so this brings us to the end of exam prep, multiple choice. I'm Carden Madzokere from the Distinction Bound Student. And yes, let's do this, boys and girls. Let's